slow down on many questions that a lot of people are asking on various aspects to do with Ukraine-Russia crisis. Let's begin with one on the top of the list. That is Russian President Vladimir Putin going to invade or annex Ukraine? Well, there is a bit of a background to it. Let's start by looking at the map. The map of Ukraine over here with all the borders clearly spell out that the bordering countries on the western side of Ukraine are all NATO member states. Russia does not want Ukraine to be a NATO member, and that's the only demand, the one key demand which is non-negotiable. Why is that? Because Russia thinks that a country like Ukraine can act as buffer between Russia and the whole of NATO. Russia does not want NATO, particularly the United States of America, in its backyard, the backyard being Ukraine. If that's the pretext, then why would Russia want to have its borders with these NATO member states? Why would Russia want to invade Ukraine completely and annex Ukraine if it can do with an independent state that is or has a pro-Russia tilt? So what's the problem over here? The problem is internal. The problem has to do with Ukraine's domestic politics. Is Ukraine a country that has a pro-West tilt, a pro-NATO, a pro-Europe tilt, or a pro-Russia tilt? There are many questions about President Zelensky and whether if this administration could be one of the reasons why there is a problem and tensions between Ukraine and Russia. The simple answer is yes. There is a problem because of the administration in Ukraine, but they are not the problem. They are democratically elected government. There have been governments in the past as well who've not had a pro-Russia tilt, and they've always been a problem for Russia. The reason why Russia has managed to create instability in Ukraine. Ukraine is a country that Russia does not want to annex or take over and make it a part of Russia, although we do know that President Vladimir Putin did spell out some grand ideas about Soviet Union. But the fact is that if Russia annexes and completely takes control of Ukraine or makes Ukraine a part of Russia, then Russia will be bordering Europe and will be bordering allies, NATO member states, something that Russia does not want. So the reason why Putin is doing this is to ensure that Ukraine does not become a part of NATO and remains an independent state, but a satellite state as well. A state that is under the control of the Russian government, a thing that Ukraine no longer wants. So this civil strife, this international strife will really not just be testing waters, but also will prove to be one of those moments where Ukraine and the international community has to decide whether if they can ensure Ukraine's sovereignty, territorial integrity, and allow Ukraine to be its own independent nation. Else, there is going to be continued strife from the Russian side, because Russia will continue to maintain that Ukraine remain independent, yet with a pro-Russia tilt. What happened in 2014, what happened in 2008 are examples of what Russia can really do within. Crimea was annexed by Russia because in 2014, Russia saw a lot of trouble and the same voices within Ukraine crying out or asking for a membership with the European Union or to be an ally and member state of NATO. That is unacceptable, and Russia sent out a very strong signal and message with the annexation of Crimea. It led to the Euromaidan movement, and the Yanukovych government fell. He actually had to flee Ukraine, but that only meant a temporary solution both for the West and for Russia. Right now, it has come to a brink. It has come to a stage where a decision has to be taken where Ukraine is headed. And in that, Russia will have to take a decision whether if it is okay completely taking over Ukraine and being a border of the NATO members, or ensuring independence of Ukraine, yet also trying to see whether if Ukraine can have a pro-Russia government, which is unlikely. So right now, popular demand or popularity is against the Russian government, but certainly we will have to wait and see what happens in the coming days. Will President Zelensky lose popularity for the kind of effect and impact this entire crisis could have over Ukraine, the economic crisis, impact on education of students, foreign students leaving Ukraine, all this could have political repercussions as well. So again, we'll have to wait and see what the political landscape of Ukraine could look like in the coming days.